time has come. These are my top 10 favorite books of 2021. I read 115 books this year, so this was not an easy list to make, but these are the 10 that stuck out the most / made the most impact. But I will say that I have read some of the greatest books that I have ever read in my entire life. Some of those that didn't even make it on to this list. So let's begin. Character development and smut on 10. I have never gone from hating a character so much to loving him and wanting him to have nothing but the best in his life. This book was like technically 3 books in the making, and it was so worth it, and it's my favorite Sophie Lark book. There are books that feature Black characters that aren't always necessarily meant for Black people, which isn't always a bad thing, but that's just not the case here. This is a book about Black people, for Black people, by a Black person, and one of the most well-earned and sweetest love stories I have ever read in my entire life. All small town romances should feature DILFs. I love the main character in this book so much. I loved watching her not only find a family, but also find herself. I always latch on to characters who are grieving because I am someone who has spent a lot of my life grieving loved ones, and I think that's why I love Emily Henry so much, because she writes about grief unlike any other author that I have inquired, and she does so the most with A Million Junes. One of the quickest yet most emotional reads I had this year. I hope to never find myself in the same situation as our main character, yet I do hope that I find a love as true as hers. Hands down, one of the best written books I have ever read in my entire life. Everything Elizabeth Acevedo touches is gold. This book changed my life, not because of the story is fantastic, and that too I guess changed my life, but also because it made me so many friends. I met so many people just because we all loved this book and adored it. So yeah. This book completely took me by surprise. It's this high up for a reason. Granted, I did just read it like last week, so it's very top of mind, but oh my gosh, I love this story so much, I really don't know what else to say. I thought that this was just going to be a regular small town romance, and it is a small town romance, but it's also so much more than that, and it's because of the more that I got in this story that it has stuck so close to me, and it's now such a comforting read for me. So, and my favorite book of the year is Beach Read. I have said many times that Emily Henry writes just for me, and I got to witness that for the first time with Beach Read. This is my first book of hers. I read it back in January, which I feel like is very fitting, and I feel like this book is like, reading this book is like peering into my heart, and I'll just never be able to describe my love and how much this book has done for me. So
read the best romance book I've ever read in my life. It had everything. Childhood friends to lovers, but it's her brother's best friend. A marriage of convenience. A one-bed trope be still my beating heart. Such good spice. Your point of view. The book is To Love Jason Thorne. Go read it. Ella Mays is my new queen.
Clean romances. I have maybe 5 of those that I can tell you about. The Paid Bridesmaid by Soraya Wilson is about a professional bridesmaid who falls for the best man at a wedding. This one is cute, fast, reads like a movie. I Kissed a Girl by Jeanette Alexander. This one's sapphic and it's fade to black, so I don't know if it's technically clean romance, but I'm throwing it in anyways because the last part of this book was hilariously good. The Moose Springs Alaska series by Sarah Morgan Thaler. This is a series I didn't even miss the spice. They were that cute. If the Shoe Fits by Julie Murphy. This one's a Cinderella retelling. She's a plus-size contestant on a Bachelor-like TV show. This one's also fade to black, so I'm noticing a trend. The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary is literally one of my favorite books of all time. I read it every single year. You have to really get into it though, because Leo's character is hard to read at first, but he's 100% worth the work. Also fade to black. And those are all my clean romance recs. Maybe I should be getting recs from you guys in this category.
I have recommendations! Ah! So whether you want to read this to improve your mental health, or you want to get back into reading, or you just want recommendations, here we go. I want to preface this by saying I mostly read new adult romance. I also like to read books that have a little bit of trauma in them because I feel like I can relate more. But don't worry, I have some happy books too. Here is your warning. Check trigger warnings because everybody's different. Starting off strong, Colleen Hoover is one of my favorite authors, but her books are a little deep. Heartbones is one of my favorites. I would describe it as 2 people who come from completely different worlds, but are outsiders nonetheless, who only understand each other. Ugly Love. He's a pilot, she's a nurse, he's also her brother's best friend, and friends with benefits. But tears, lots of tears. All Your Perfects is one of my all-time favorites in my top 10 of this year, and it follows an estranged marriage. Sally Rooney is another one of my favorite authors, but her books are really complex and deep. You'll either love them or hate them. Normal People is my favorite book. To put it simply, it's a coming-of-age story. And then Conversation with Friends is another one of my favorites, and it deals with a complex romantic relationship, and again, sort of a coming-of-age story in more of the 20s. Love, in other words. I love this book. Childhood friends to lovers who run into each other after not speaking for 11 years. Tears! The House in the Cerulean Sea is one of the sweetest books. It follows a social worker who visits an orphanage full of mystical children. There's great message in it and LGBTQ representation. Rom-com recommendations. Tessa Bailey is a great rom-com author. Some of my favorites are It Happened One Summer. It's spicy, it's rich girl meets fisherman man, and then Fix Her Up, brother's best friend. I love Emily Henry. She's in my top 10 favorite books of this year. People We Meet on Vacation, college friends to lovers, and they go on vacations once a year. And then Beach Read, rival authors who end up being neighbors at their beach houses. You Deserve Each Other, one of my favorite rom-coms. It follows an estranged engaged couple who doesn't want to be the one to call it off, so they sabotage each other. The Kiss Quotient, it doesn't look it, but it's spicy. Our female main character has Asperger's and struggles in the romance department, so she hires a male escort to help her out. The Love Hypothesis, God, I love this book. Basically, fake dating scientist, guy falls in love first. First series, I love the Ravenhood trilogy. It's spicy and I can't tell you what it's about because you need to go in blind. The Dirty Air series by Lauren Asher, just know hot F1 racers. I also love the Addicted to You / Callaway Sister series. Here's a list of all the books I recommended.
Today I want to talk about some of my favorite romantic comedies I've read because there are some days that we just need a laugh. First up, we have Ainsley and Maverick's story in IOU. This is where Ainsley finds out her boyfriend's cheating on her. She needs a new place to stay. She goes to him for an IOU and he can't find her a place. So, of course, he offers his apartment for her. Next up is Kate and Courtney's story in My Big Fat Fake Engagement. This is a brother's best friend trope, and I need to seal the deal on this business deal, but first I need an engagement to do so. Ooh, then we have Wallbanger, which is Caroline and Simon's story. This is where they are actually neighbors, and Simon keeps Caroline up at night with his activities against the bedroom wall and chaos. And last, we have My Mostly Fake Wedding, which is Chris and Belle's story. This is where Chris needs to clean up his image for his NFL team, but to do so, they decided that he needs to get married. In walks Belle. So fun, check him out.